Yeah, hopefully we can live up to that introduction. It might have been more exciting than the actual community going wrong. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Slating. I'm Assistant Executive Director at the Illinois State Bar Association. And I'm presenting here with Cate.
Hi, sorry, the jelly beans are we're knocking around back there. I'm Cate. I hope you didn't see any spoilers as we did a zoom by of our slide deck, so just forget that. So I'm Cate. I'm from Higher Logic. We wear orange, so Chris, my colleague, is over there. He flew in for today, but I'm from Chicago. I'm from an association background. I used to be a client of Higher Logic, and I'm in Albany Park, Chicago. So today I know we're talking about solutions, and thank you for that great introduction. But our thought for today is you all use different tools to succeed with initiatives, or you try to do things. Is our concept is talking about the people who use those tools, and we don't necessarily have a solution. It's an ongoing discussion. So some lessons learned, but I just wanted to frame it as, it might be a little bit different than some of the case studies for today. And I think that's okay. And I love a catchy title because this is not a horror story. This is something that happens every day. We talk about members going rogue, right, Tim?
Yeah, I guess. Hopefully it's not every day they go rogue.
Every other day, yeah. But I was going to say, Tim is located in Springfield. He was very nice and agreed to do this session with me. We met because I reached out and say, hey, do you want to update your online community? And he thought it was a scam, right?
Yep.
That was a real person and wanted to chat. So anyway, can you go back one?
I can.
Mr. Clicker. Okay, gotcha. So we're talking about, there's some words up here. These slides are, available later. There's been a lot, I think, of just really great discussion today that's been hard for me to digest, honestly, just because there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of solutions and names and tools. So this is going to be a little bit broader, and there might be jargon that we use that isn't super clear. It's just please call that out because, maybe we don't know the name of organization or what Higher Logic is or why it matters. And it's important to pause and talk about that. Otherwise, it's lost in the sauce, right? So for today, we're just talking about some of these concepts of users using a tool, lessons learned, and real people of where that came from. And very poignant last bullet point here is, especially in the last week or so, right, is we're talking about free speech, and especially some very passionate attorney members of your organization feeling where can they put their feelings and opinions. So let's go ahead. If you want to go ahead and do the next slide.
All right. So this slide is just some general background about the Illinois State Bar. We're a voluntary association of Illinois-based attorneys. We currently got about 30,000 members. We're headquartered down in Springfield. We've got a small satellite office out in the Loop with, I think we have roughly about 10 staff members in Chicago, and the rest of the 45 of us are down in Springfield. So there's about 55 total. And then the last little bit here is just a little bit about our tech stack for those folks who are interested. Our AMS, we're currently on IMIS and right in the middle of a conversion to Nimble that we've been doing for a while. I think, I don't want to jinx us, but the current go live date is January 20th. So hopefully nothing happens between now and then. We use Drupal for our website and our CRM. For our LMS, we're on Blue Sky, and we use Higher Logic's Real Magnet product.
Real magic.
It is magic. So we use Higher Logic for our email and also obviously our online communities.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. And my dad has actually been a member of the Illinois State Bar Association for a long time. So with that, Higher Logic, if you haven't heard of us, we have been around a while. There's a lot of orange. We've changed names. There's been lots of different things, but we are a software company that is primarily based of folks that are from associations. And so we're known for online communities. And we are also known for marketing automation products. So if you've heard of Informs or Real Magnet, we've called them different things, is we have kind of this umbrella of products to help you get what you need done. And I love it. I'm a former client, but it's awesome to talk to folks every day and talk about solutions and seeing what works and what doesn't. So I just included a picture, just like a visual of like our online community. You might have heard of Thrive, is it has an activity feed of you can pull in like LMS data, job board data, is really interactive, like where online communities are going. It should look like social media, but it should respect your permissions of your database. And it should be, where's the member value? And then this is just an example of kind of a new member welcome campaign. We have all sorts of things that are new all the time. What's not on here is we have a lot of AI tools. I would say AI for good because it's a lot of noise right now what's going on with AI, but we actually have a free AI search tool that you can enable if you have Higher Logic with us. So same kind of base logic of what was talked about earlier, of being able to look through the resources and documents, respect those permissions, and really kind of have an Ask Jeeves for each of your different types of communities and resources. So with that, let's keep going.
Yeah, so before I get into how our online community started to go astray, this is just a little background. So before we launched with Higher Logic back in 2017, we had online Lyris listservs, the old email listservs. I think we launched those around 2002-ish. But back when we had those listservs, we just had 8 open listservs that were, different topics in each listserv that our members can join. And we did have one online listserv that was called the Cafe. And it was the only listserv where members were allowed to talk about social issues and politics. So it was pretty much, we had rules saying that, social issues and politics could not be discussed in any of our listservs except the Cafe. Then, like I said, in 2017, we launched Higher Logic Online Communities. We call that product ISBA Central, is what we refer to it as. And at that point, we launched 30 plus communities that were all tied to our sections within the association. So as you can guess, as a association of lawyers, we have a family law section, a criminal law section, a trust and estate section. The list goes on and on. And our members have to pay to join those sections. And really the main member benefit they get is access to the online community that's dedicated to their practice area. And when we did that, so, you had to pay to get into the communities, but we did maintain the old rules of no social or political discussions. And we did have the open community that we continued to call the Cafe.
Dun dun.
So I should also note that, so the way we configured Higher Logic is we don't have any staff moderating these communities. They are all self-moderated by the members. So, if the members see a post that they think violates our community code of conduct, the member would flag that. And the moment a member flags it, it gets taken down off the community. And then we had a super secret team of staff members who would never let the members know who the staff members was who made these decisions.
Could be 10.
We would review the post and decide whether that post should be republished or remain unpublished. But I also note, from going back even to the days of our Lyris listservs, the members had developed this culture within all the communities of not flagging posts for moderations, but just telling members to take it to the Cafe whenever anybody crossed the line and made a social or a political comment. So this is just snippets of our rules here, but you can just see that, we've got a general rule saying that, political and social issues can only be discussed in the ISBA Cafe. And then we had a general rule that applied to all of our communities about, messages that are in whole or in part defamatory, libelous, abusive, profane, threatening. Obviously, us lawyers wrote this. List goes on and on, are obviously prohibited. But as you can guess, with lawyers as members, there's no bright line. Any one of our members can come up with any number of arguments for why their post was not offensive, was not whatever you can list. So this has always been a staff management issue of corralling the lawyers, because the other issue is obviously any social or political issue you can bring up. It's very easy for a lawyer to say, well, I'm talking about the law. What are you talking about? I'm not talking about social issues. I'm talking about the First Amendment.
How dare you try to take away my right?
Exactly. So
Uh-huh.
obviously I don't know if Cate was going to cover this, but this started to cause some friction, obviously, within our communities of trying to balance the free expressions of the members, with our standards. And I would say the other thing you're balancing it against is a lot of our members in these communities, they just want to ask questions. It's like, hey, what do I need to file to get this notice of heirship in this court? So it's like there's a lot of, nuts and bolts of legal practice. And when certain members want to start having political discussions, it just muddies up the inboxes of, the members who have not done the smart move, which would be opting for a daily digest of these communities. But, the members getting the messages in real time get really frustrated and they want to be out of the community. So it's always been kind of an issue that we've had to deal with. But it obviously has gotten much worse in the last 6 to 8 years or so. So this is the main crux of where it went wrong. So basically the way the cafe had lived, there was maybe 100 or 200 members who actively participated in it. And, there was a lot of trolls in there, a lot of name calling, but it was all active participants who knew what the cafe was and knew they liked doing it, right? They liked having conversations about this stuff and slinging mud at each other, and it was all in good fun. But ultimately what happened is some members who weren't part of the cafe, heard rumors about this mysterious cafe place, and then they just started going and lurking in there and getting offended by everything that they saw. And where it really came to a head, this was, right around when the conflict in Gaza started. We had one member who, anytime anything was related to Islam was mentioned, even just the word, he would flag it. And, our staff committee would review it. And, sometimes they were offensive posts that we would leave down, but sometimes it was just members talking about the conflict and typing the word Islam. And unfortunately, this member took the position that those people in the cafe are bad, and I'm personally offended anytime they say the name of my religion. Therefore, during the code of conduct, it's got to come down. So this was really where we realized we had a problem here. And ultimately, what happened is this member took it to our president and then our board of governors and made formal requests that the whole cafe should be shut down completely to, stop the posts that were going on in there.
So like I said, this is not a solution-based topic. And
we'll tell you how it ended later.
Yeah, I was going to say, we want to make sure you're awake. And I was going to say that's my approach, is always like the learning concept, because you could have any platform, right? We talked about lots of different platforms and techs and rolling out and this other stuff. And obviously, there's pros and cons to all. Is like the concept of like your users using something, it being rolled out, culture changes, things being visible, permissions. That's not going anywhere. That's with any new AI tool. That's like with any new LMS you're pushing out, mobile app. Like these are things where, I think it's really common that folks don't have a community manager, or they don't have a dedicated person for that tool, right? That's super common now. I did want to bring it back. You mentioned something about like daily digest and real digest. Those are almost remnant of like what listservs were. Folks love listservs. Members love them. And that is something with some tools like Higher Logic, is you can respond to an email and it will post on your behalf and act like this legacy listserv. So
I think that's what we found. I mean, so our active members in the Lyris, once we moved on to Higher Logic, they just continued to engage with it via email. So there is a standalone platform with message boards members can post and respond on.
Right. But that kind of legacy of like, I don't need to log in, I can just respond to this, but then kind of the movement. So want to do a little bit of engagement. I know it's rough, right? 3 p.m, right? Post beans and all that is in terms of like thinking about today, who has had any members or users go on rogue? I know there's more. So when I worked at a really large international organization in Rotary, is we used to call them, maybe members gone rogue, members behaving badly, but it's more so not good versus bad. It's folks that are really passionate about something and it's not being channeled in a helpful way, right? That's what I try to frame it as. So with this, I guess thinking about your situation, has anyone else encountered this maybe on like LinkedIn or social or even at a conference where you've had something come up and it's, oh, we have all these rules, but now we have to do something about it? Would love if anyone would share.
This is the real scary part of the presentation.
Right. I think the vulnerability is yeah, and it can be triggering. It could be, oh, that board member that walked out after this or this, and this is these things happen. We are still people. And I guess this is the point to pause and say is like, as you're moving through solutions, it's still the strategy of building back of what's your governance to protect your people? What's your boundaries to protect your staff and your members? These members, we want to have space for their opinions and thoughts and really passionate energy about certain things, right? But a new member on an online forum seeing that would be, oh, this doesn't feel like a safe space for me, or I don't know how to engage or what to do. So
I will say that once we got to the point of this working up to our board, that's what the entire conversation on the board was about, was what happens when a new member just stumbles into the cafe. We don't want them to see that.
Right. It's, I walk into a conference and, no one looks at me, or, it's thinking about what's their user experience, their onboarding, right? And that's important to also think about any of the resources you have that are log in or log out only. They're thinking that's part of the association, right? Private Facebook group, who's running that, what's in there, all things to think about with governance. So Tim, if you want to keep cooking along. All right, so this is something to think about. Obviously, Higher Logic has different tools to help moderate. This is something where these can be applied to thinking about different platforms, right? So like an FAQ or how you roll something out. I think when you moved on from like a listserv concept, right, is maybe there really wasn't terms and conditions for that, or it was referenced somewhere that new members wouldn't have seen it. It's no one has a clean onboarding because this is ongoing, right? I was gonna say, do you want to add anything else to this, Tim? I know you reset or added to the terms over time, but that didn't necessarily fix the situation,
that's
right?
when we first tried to handle it, is by rewriting, some more specific code of conduct rules. Like I said, when it eventually got to the board, staff took the position of we presented the board with several options to remedy the situation without killing the cafe. And really the root of that was, we knew on staff from reading these communities that if we killed the cafe, those 200 members weren't going away. They were just going to go into every other community and drive everybody crazy and create a bigger problem. So staff took the approach of, we presented to the board that, we could hide the community so that new members couldn't just wander in. We could turn it into an invite only type thing where you had to request to get access to become a member of the cafe. We wanted to put together a task force to rewrite the rules, and because I guess I should say up to this point, staff had written the rules. Now, mind you, we've got a couple lawyers on staff, so we wrote the rules. But, so one of our solutions was let the members write the rules themselves so that staff isn't in this position of trying to mandate what the members can talk about and not talk about. So that's on here. So these were some of our recommendations of what we wanted to do. But ultimately, I'll just cut to the chase. As you can probably guess, our board did not like any of staff's ideas. And
the end.
Despite much work, there was a unanimous board vote to immediately kill the cafe. To which staff quickly scrambled and said, "Well, what do you mean about immediately? It's 5 o'clock on a Friday." And the board quickly answered, "Well, you're going to call your Higher Logic rep right now, Tim, and figure it out." Because this thing is going to be taken off the website immediately.
And we did it.
Which we did. We did. Cate sprung into action. So we got what we ended up doing was archiving it so that, we knew that the folks who participated were going to appeal this somehow, and we're not going to go away quietly into the night. So, we didn't want to just delete it and then, have these members become successful in getting it reinstated, then saying, where's our 15 years worth of history of discussions that I want to go back and relive those wars we had in there. So what we ultimately did was, we archived it, took it down, sent a message to the members notifying them that, the cafe was no longer supported by the ISBA staff. And as you can guess, these members came to our assembly meeting the next time our assembly met, which, is a large 300 plus body of lawyers. And so they made impassioned speeches, and and then the member who was doing the flagging of all the religious related posts got up and gave one of the most impassioned speeches I have ever heard. And everybody sitting in the room was like, nobody's voting against this guy. And sure enough, our assembly decided to keep that cafe down. And then, as you can guess, staff unfortunately was right. And now it is spilled over into all of our other communities. And it's the same group of people. And of course, so they're now making political posts, like, say, for example, in our family law community. And then, the members in the family law community, I can't believe they didn't read my notice about the cafe being gone, first of all. But, of course, they see these posts and they just respond back, take it to the cafe. And let me tell you, these trolls like nothing more now than for people to say, take it to the cafe, because then they get to respond, I sure wish I could take it to the cafe. But guess what? You idiots killed it. And unfortunately, that is kind of the world we're still living in. But it has died down a little. We took the cafe down probably a year ago now, I think. I think it was our September board meeting last year. We took it down, and it was hot and heavy with folks complaining about this, and it's petered out a little bit. And I think some of the trolls have taken their toys and gone home, but some of them definitely remain, and it is still, so like Cate said, there's really no wonderful ending to the story, besides it's just an ongoing burden of trying to satisfy the members with what they want to do with our communities.
Right. And I want to be super mindful of our time, because it's kind of like, here's this like juicy story we're talking about, and like kind of the inside edition, which, like, Tim, thank you for sharing, and also being open to sharing this as well, because it's vulnerable, one, but also this is not new, and any tool you still have to manage, right? So while we have AI and all these really other great things, is you still have users that want to talk about things, that want to contribute, that are looking for things. So I think that is kind of one of the things I wanted to help ground, is what I didn't know when I worked at an association is, like, you should have a team of folks that are helping support you from any vendor. And they might be called different names, right? Different titles. Some people don't care what my title is. They're like, can you help me? Right? We want you to be successful. And I think that's where it's an ongoing conversation of, like, how are we using this? What's working? What's going on now? There's spillage. What's the focus? How do we help support this being successful long term? Is there an answer for those 200 members? No, we don't want to take away their membership. We don't want to make it worse, but that is a ongoing discussion of how do you manage that impact, and how do they feel that they're getting value right now, right? That's going to continue to spill with that change management. So I have a couple. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say, I will note that despite the many threats from these members that they were going to cancel their membership as soon as the cafe was gone, I don't think many of them have done that. I think they are all still members.
Right. They still are finding value. They were upset at the boundary. So with this, I just had a couple of takeaways. Is I think a lot of people think of an open forum, no matter what you use, it is not an open space, right? We like to say it's an open space, but you do need to take a look at what's going on there, because that could be maybe vendors or consultants, within that association space or trade space, that are now trying to sell something, and that's not what that space is for. It is good to kind of look at those permissions, and then think about how are people getting in that space? How is it moderated? How are we controlling it? And what are the issues? And it's okay if you don't solve that issue in the same day, but it's ongoing. Who's supporting me to help with this strategy? I think I have one more slide. Maybe. Okay.
Oh, this
yeah.
is the other 3 points. Yeah. This is
Oh,
the
yeah.
slide.
Together, 6 points. So with this, I have this great thing that came from somewhere that I said at some point, but is onboarding doing the real work is Tim is going through, their association is going through a, AMS upgrade. We're going to get them upgraded on like the fancy new online community you saw on like the first couple slides is like, that's another opportunity where I'm a member. What am I seeing in that feed of the activity of like what communities am I a part of? How can we onboard people about what to expect from this? And also making it personalized of like, maybe there is another space or way we can help support these 200 really passionate members that are making a negative impact for, others, unfortunately. So with that, Tim, you want to add anything else today?
No, I mean, that's all I have. We can take some questions, but I think we're out of time.
Yeah, for sure. I want to be mindful of our time, but yeah, thank you so much, Tim.
Yeah, I do want to thank you all. Man, this has been a really great day. I mean, so we're working at a bar association. We have a lot of associations for bar association professionals. And, we kind of end up in a bubble in the bar association world. So it's really nice to be in a room full of other association folks who don't work at a bar association.
Yeah, but thank you. Thank you.